Today with Patrick.
He's in the house.
I know.
He has a glow about him right now.
I'm sorry that I did not fold this paper prior to the show. Over the weekend, Governor Walz announced, as though he was doing something novel, he announced the creation of a new unit to probe fraud in the state. There are already a number of entities charged with that task, not to mention a state auditor who was already told the governor that the fraud, virtually in all part, was due to an extraordinary lack of oversight. For him to come along at this late date and try and present himself as the face of rational behavior is absolutely preposterous. He wants to add 9 staff members to the Attorney General's Medicaid fraud unit. I don't think that's necessary. What's necessary is that the existing Medicaid fraud unit should have taken a look at Medicaid fraud. He wants to give agencies expanded authority to stop payments from going to people and entities suspected, charged, or convicted of fraud or financial crimes. Why wasn't that done 4 years ago? He wants to use AI, artificial intelligence, to detect and prevent fraud. Okay. He wants to create a theft of public funds statute that increases criminal penalties by 20% compared to the existing theft statute. So what Walz is doing is creating additional layers of government to hide the fact that he hasn't done a damn thing since he's been governor. I seriously believe that he should be impeached. I would wish the legislature would take it up. I don't have a great deal of hope. He can't come in now after over $500 million of taxpayer money has been stolen and claim that the reason was an absence of the kind of oversight he now wishes to create by these unnecessary redundancies in law enforcement entities we already have. This is a dreadful, dreadful lack of responsibility on his part. I do seriously think he should be impeached. No Minnesota governor has ever been impeached. A couple of judges in Minnesota back in the day were impeached. No governor has been impeached. And the only thing I could find in Minnesota is that a governor in Minnesota can be impeached for misconduct. To me, it constitutes misconduct to have turned such a blind eye to this theft, this constant theft that has taken place since he took office. To me, that's misconduct. I don't know how a court of law would rule. I don't know how the legislative body would rule. I suppose he has many, many redundancies he can hide behind and say. I don't know what he can say because it happened and he hasn't been responsible. It happened and he hasn't been responsible. And it continues to happen. We have now new fraud, new potential fraud with the Office of Cannabis Management, who can't seem to get their act together. Licensed and legal marijuana sales got pushed back by months last week, leaving people looking for someone to blame. I don't even want to go into that now. It's breaking my train of thought because Walz said so many obscenely fantastic things in this ridiculous story. I think it was in the Saturday paper. Never overlook Saturday newspapers. As much of a hard time as newspapers have fallen on, there's an uncanny ability to have important stories on Saturday. And this is no exception. Minnesota, this is towards the end of the Saturday story. This is in the Minnesota newspaper. Before I was reading from the St. Paul paper. Minnesota agencies haven't always been skeptical enough of the people and entities receiving public funds, Walz told reporters Friday. He said that they had a tendency of, we want to help. We want to get this money out. So he's painting his administration and his agencies as being predisposed to generosity. And that's why this happened, because we just haven't been skeptical enough. You know, I watched the neighbors come in and out of my driveway for the last 6 months, and it never occurred to me they were stripping it clean because they're just great kids. That's BS and disingenuous on his part. That mindset has opened the door for fraud, Walz said, and it must change. No, it should never have happened, Walz, and it should have changed a long time ago. I think, this is a quote from Walz, I think it's probably a culture of generosity.
Wow.
I think it's a culture of being a little too trusting, Walz said. I don't think those are bad character traits, but I don't think they're necessarily as effective in a time when we're seeing fraud increase. Really? You don't think that's effective during a time of fraud? That's a great conclusion you've reached, Walz. You've got to go. He is not good for the state of Minnesota. The state of Minnesota is going to soon be, if it not already, in financial ruin. Too much fraud has been taking place. No responsibility, no accountability. And again, Walz, you had your own state auditor tell you were in the room, that there was an absence of such a dramatic absence of oversight that this kept happening. And your Department of Education chief that you handpicked, Heather Mueller, she didn't provide any oversight. Mm-hmm. The money had to go through the Department of Education. Then she conveniently left when this started to become evident that there were these terrible frauds taking place.
When the bleep hit the fan.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know what more to say, except I am very sincere when I think he's a candidate for impeachment. It would take the legislature to get that ball rolling. The grounds would be misconduct. I don't know why it would not be construed as misconduct to have sat there in his seat while this took place day after day, month after month, year after year, and then to pass it off that it's probably a culture of generosity. Well, if it's a culture of generosity, Walz, the taxpayers had no say in it. And I want to continue to believe that I don't think, I'm willing to have my mind change, but I don't think he is a thief. I don't think he personally has lined his pockets. That would conflict with, and I'm being very serious, his Marxist, communist betters who have advised him that no one should have any money unless you take it from someone else. And he's done a thorough job of taking it from the people of Minnesota. This fraud, by the way, is almost it's not. It's so significant, it's not almost. But the fraud goes hand in hand with his blowing the surplus. The fraud goes hand in hand with the obscene tax rates in this state.
Well,
his fraud goes hand in hand with out-migration of the population in this state. He is a ruinous character, and he needs to not be the governor of this state. He needs to be impeached. He doesn't have the character to resign. A lot of people might say, oh, Mother of God, look what's happened under my watch. I take full responsibility. I'm so ashamed of myself, I'm going to resign. I'm going to resign. He doesn't have that kind of character. I'm not sure he has much character at all. We learned a lot about his character during his vice presidential run. He doesn't have character. So that leaves impeachment. It's either resignation or impeachment.
Would he win another re-election?
In this state?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think enough eyes have to be opened by this that it would be impossible for him to. I don't see how it's possible for him to have a continuing political career, although the country is so fouled up. The country is so upside down, and the country has so many things that don't make sense. he may pass himself off as worthy of candidacy again for something. But
Oh, he for sure will.
I hope the people of Minnesota realize what he's done to us, what he's done to you, what he's done to your neighbors, and then to try to sell you on this disingenuous idea that this possibly all stems from the lot of us up here on the Hill. We're just so damn generous we haven't been skeptical enough. That's an outrage. That's an absolute outrage. People in this state are slow to become outraged. But I'm talking to you, euphorians, and people in Liberal Lakes and Diversityville. He has hurt you as much as he's hurt anybody, and he's going to continue to.
Well, it's the topic in general. It's not weed and it's not abortion. So it's not a sexy topic
Right.
as far as people ignoring it.
It should be a sexy topic. It's your bankroll. It's your wallet.
Right.
It's your checkbook.
Speaking of that, did he throw out any dollar figures? Because we're talking about a new centralized fraud unit and we're talking about adding bodies to the AG's office. So is there a number that corresponds with that?
Yeah, 9 people to the AG office, and I don't know the number of people that would go
The
to.
dollar figure, though, Joe.
A dollar figure? No, we don't have a dollar figure on that.
Well, those easily are what? 6-figure incomes?
Well, look what he did with the family leave. That requires damn near a whole wing of square footage.
I am
deal
not.
with.
I don't mean to sidetrack you. I got
Well, then don't.
Hold on, but this goes with what we're talking about. A guy texted me that listens to this show. 2 people at his office have already taken advantage of that program. It's January 6th.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know it was even in effect yet.
Well, it starts this. Didn't it start at the first of the year?
Maybe
Okay.
it was a sidetrack. Thank you.
No, but that will be another layer of fraud, guaranteed.
He also proposed increasing penalties for financial crimes involving public assistance. How much is that going to deter the fraud? I don't see it helping at all.
It's not.
Yeah.
And let's parse his sentence and get to the bottom of what he means. I think he thinks he can get away with selling this idea of generosity because he is effecting a kind of kindness to so-called marginalized people. Somalis didn't take 10 steps in United States soil before they learned how to play the race card. So he's got that going for him. And he's got a group of people here who are very bold, very out front in their theft, and he hasn't done anything about it. Let's talk to a Republican. We need real change to crack down on fraud, and that starts with a process that is truly independent of the leadership that allowed fraud to run rampant over the last 5 years. This would be Demuth. Is it Lisa?
Right.
Republican of Cold Spring. House Republicans will be unveiling a comprehensive fraud package that treats this as the serious problem it is. Lisa, I wish you, instead of that, you would begin impeachment proceedings.
Well,
I'm deadly serious. This guy is not fit to be the governor of Minnesota or any other state. No one who has presided over this is fit to be governor. He has exercised no fiduciary responsibility whatsoever. None.
what is the first step in impeaching him? And does that idea have any legs at all?
Well, I did some homework over the weekend. I doubt it has many legs, but it has a foundation to build on, and that's the misconduct. So the question then becomes, the Lisa Demuths of the world have to get together in a back room at the Capitol and say, can we demonstrate or prove willful misconduct? And it seems to me that Walz is almost admitting the misconduct.
Seems like it.
I mean, he's saying that we had the wrong culture here. I'm putting words in his mouth, but I'm paraphrasing. I think this is him. I think it's probably a culture of generosity. I think it's a culture of being a little too trusting. Well, that wouldn't. I can't imagine that would hold up in a court of law as a replacement for responsibility. Judge, I know $500 million have been stolen, but that's because we're nice people. I can't see that passing the test of law.
It'd be fun to hear him defend that under cross-examination, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Judge, I realize more than $500 million and more. It's happening every day, Judge. I realize that. But, we don't have bad character traits, Judge. Our character traits just aren't effective enough at a time of fraud. I'm sorry, that if we have any law system left, that wouldn't pass.
No.
That would be misconduct. It certainly would be misconduct outside of government.
Yeah. Any one of us pulls that scam, we're in prison.
Yeah, I thought about this all weekend. When I read that Saturday, I thought, but this is outrageous. It's absolutely outrageous.
All weekend?
Just as an aside, this press event he had over the weekend.
Oh, my
Friday
God.
he had it. I thought Friday.
Invitation only, Joe.
Oh, mother of
What?
God.
No.
No,
We didn't get
invitation only.
Are you serious?
Yeah, right. Yep.
What a freaking joke.
He created a new state fraud investigations unit via executive order. I guess that's to demonstrate how serious he is. And proposed legislative measures aimed at stopping the theft of public funds. You're too late, Walz. The horse left the barn. More than $500 million is gone. The DFL governor's actions come amid growing concerns about fraud. Growing? They've been full-flowered for 3 years. And autism is now a hotbed of fraud. And again, all you have to do is look at the numbers. It's simply unacceptable, Walz added. Well, where were you, Walz? I know you took time out to run around and pretend you were a vice presidential candidate. But where have you been? Combining the resources and expertise of both these agencies, meaning the BCA and the Attorney General's office, will enhance the state's ability to prevent, investigate, and prosecute a broad array of crimes involving fraud. Oh, this is BCA Superintendent Drew Evans. It will help stop those people who commit these crimes from continuing to hurt our communities. I don't see how it will. It's already happened.
Has Ellison weighed in on this, Joe?
Not that I'm aware of.
Shouldn't this be one of his main jobs?
You would think so.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
But
'Cause I
somebody
do
probably
think so.
created a faulty mop or something that he's going to bat for.
Right. He's going after Fleet Farm for something they're not innocent of.
Right. We live in strange times. It's very disheartening to live in this state right now. This used to be one hell of a state. And I don't think I'm alone in feeling that this state has a different feel to it today. Just a completely different feel to it.
Couldn't agree more.
We got Medicaid fraud, we got autism fraud, we got the food fraud, we got the cannabis fraud, and we have a governor who's not fit to be in control of this. He has shown no competency, no willingness, no sense of responsibility.
On YouTube right now from Dallas, how soon do we see fraud in the fraud department?
Holy S. That's going to happen. 100%.
Yeah. Thank you,
Hello.
Dallas.
No, then what will happen? We got to create another body to watch over the fraud department.
Right.
Someone call the fraud department.
You're so right about Saturday papers. This press conference was on Friday, and they always like to put them on Friday before the weekend. So by Monday, it's a non-story. And I didn't see this story really anywhere in the front page of the Star Tribune today, did I?
No, it was on the front page of the
Saturday
paper,
Right.
as it was in the St. Paul Pioneer Press.
Right.
Well, don't you usually get your Saturday paper around Sunday afternoon?
No, for Saturday, I was
call
at the gas station by 8:00 getting my papers, and I didn't know this was coming, and I'm really grateful.